gbogbo ẹ̀yin ọmọ ọ̀dọ́ tá a jọ ń káàkiri ọ̀dọ́jọ́ ni wá ẹ má jẹ́ kí a fi àyè gba Fúlàní lórí ilẹ̀ àwọn bàbá wa ẹ má jẹ́ ká bú ọba mọ́ ẹ má jẹ́ ká bú jòyè mọ́ nígbà tá a la fẹ́ jà fún àwọn ọ̀rẹ́ wa táwa ń kọ́kọ́ ń bú ọba tá à ń bú jòyè èmi náà ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ rí bọ́ mo pera mi padà ẹ má jẹ́ ká bú àgbààgbà kankan mọ́ ẹ má bolóṣèlú kankan ẹ̀rù kálukú ń bẹ̀rù wọn ò lè sọ̀rọ̀ ọba ò lè sọ ìjòyè lè sọ ẹ jẹ́ ká ronú ẹ má jẹ́ ká bá àwọn bàbá jà mọ́ ẹ má jẹ́ á bú wọn mọ́ ẹ má jẹ́ á ṣe wọn ra wọn ara pẹ̀lú wọn àwọn àgbà tó bá jó lóṣèlú tá a bá fẹ́ kọ́ wọn rẹ̀ wá lọ́wọ́ á gbé wọn mọ́ra á gbé wọn mọ́ra ni à ní bú wọn mọ́ ẹ má jẹ́ á ṣèjẹ̀gbọ́n ẹ má jẹ́ á dàlúrú a lè gba ẹ̀tọ́ wa láì ṣèjẹ̀gbọ́n a lè gba ẹ̀tọ́ wa láì yìnbọn a lè gba ẹ̀tọ́ wa láì dàlúrú gbogbo protest mo ṣe ní ìlú Nàìjíríà mi ò rí ibi tí mo ti ẹnìkan lè sọ pé mo pààyàn tàbí mo jó nǹkan náà tàbí mo bà nǹkan jẹ́ mo lọ písù torí pé olówó lèmi náà tí ò bá sólówó lára ń dì mọ́ gbogbo nǹkan tọ́lọ́run fún yàn lọ́lọ́run fún mi mi ṣe tálákà tó dé pé mo dìde fúnjà Yorùbá big man ni mi àwọn tó jẹ́ ọ̀rẹ́ mi tó súnmọ́ mi tó ní owó ní kí ni mo wá lọ bẹ̀ pé sọ́wọ́ lè mi mò ń fẹ́ ni kí n sọ yìí tí mo fẹ́ mo ní ìsọ̀rọ̀ owó àní ọ̀rọ̀ ìran mi ni mò ń sọ kí n wọ gbowó kí n gbéra kí n pé mò ń lọ ọ̀dọ̀ ọba Ìgbòho mò ń lọ ọ̀dọ̀ oníbodè òfin Ìgbòho kí n kójó wọlé kọ́kàn mi balẹ̀ kí n dá wa mọ́tò kí n mọ́ rìn bọ̀ kí Fúlàní mọ́ da mi dúró títì kí n délé kí bàbá sọ pé kí n gbé tírélà sùn kí n mọ́ gbé lọ àwọn bàbá wo lè lóko mọ́ wọn ò lè lóńdò ẹ jẹ́ ká fọwọ́sowọ́pọ̀ ká ti àwọn bàbá wa lẹ́yìn ká dá security ti wa lẹ̀ ká sọ fún wọn kí wọ́n bá wa fọwọ́ tì í ká lé wọn kó nu oko wa ẹ ṣé mo dúpẹ́ Jésù Olúwa wa.
Koikimedia, we're bringing the world closer to your doorstep.
Koikimedia, 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 we bringing the world closer to your doorstep.
Koikimedia, 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 we bringing the world closer to your doorstep.
Àwọn sọ́lára àgbà yìí dá, àwa ló láṣà àti èdè. Gbígbédè lárugẹ nílẹ̀ Oòduà o, àwa gangan ni bàbá.
Koikimedia, 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 we bringing the world closer to your doorstep.
They never sabi wetin we carry for her.
But we dey move closer before dem go sabi.
I said they never know wetin we carry for body.
But we dey move closer before dem go sabi.
Ọ̀kín lọ lọ́jà ẹyẹ, kìnìún ló ló lajú.
Ẹyẹ tó lórí kodò bí àdán ọgbẹ́jẹ lẹ́nu.
Ká ṣiṣẹ́ fún ilẹ̀ bàbá wa, ká ṣiṣẹ́ fún ìlú bàbá wa, ká jùmọ̀ sowọ́pọ̀ ká lè tó dúdú àga.
Odùduwà kò bá lè gbé wá.
Ọmọ Odùduwà ṣègìrì, ẹ dìde fún ẹ̀tọ́ adúláwọ̀, ká lè jọ jùmọ̀ gbé délẹ̀ ìlérí, ká wálé gba ògo ilẹ̀ wa, ká ṣiṣẹ́ ká lè jọ gbàdé, ká lè gbàdé adé adúláwọ̀, àwa ni mọ̀lẹ̀ tí yóò tàn káàkiri.
Pé ọmọ Odùduwà ni wá.
Koikimedia, àwa là ń gbé tó lárugẹ.
Ètò tó pọ̀jù owó tiwa mọ́ ni.
Kásá ẹgbẹ́ polówó ọjà wa kájé bùgbà yín jẹ.
Ètò tó pọ̀jù owó tiwa mọ́ ni.
À ń gbé tó lárugẹ, à ń gbàsà lárugẹ.
Ètò tó pọ̀jù owó tiwa mọ́ ni.
News and sports ẹ máa rí gbọ́.
Ètò tó pọ̀jù owó tiwa mọ́ ni.
Ọmọ Ìjẹ̀bú alárẹ̀ mi ló ní kí n máa ké tantan. Koikimedia ọlọ́lá gbajúmọ̀ mi o, máa bá ṣẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ o. Ọmọ Yorùbá nìyẹn, ọmọ Yorùbá tata o. À ń gbádùn rẹ, ọmọ Ìjẹ̀bú alárẹ̀ mi, ṣẹ́yìn ló máa fi dìbò tẹ̀ mọ́lẹ̀ o. Ẹ̀yin lọ́mọ onígbò máa ń dé máa dé, ẹ̀yin lọ́mọ onígbò máa wọ̀ o. Igbó máa wọ̀ tó àjòjì ò gbọ́dọ̀ wọ̀, àjòjì tó bá wọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ á tẹ̀lé ní ẹbọra. ẹ̀yin lọ máa náwó kóyìnbó tó dé ìgbà tó yìnbó dé o owó náà dẹ́ tún pọ̀ sí o Koiki Media ṣàwa ní bàbá. Koiki Media àwọn ní bàbá.
Koiki Media àwọn ní bàbá.
Àdáńtọ́ àtúnpèrègèdè.
Koiki Media àwọn ní bàbá.
Àwa là ń gbé tò lárugẹ jẹ́ ká jọ gbọ́ o.
Koiki Media àwọn ní bàbá.
Àtúnjà fẹ́tọ̀ ilẹ̀ wa fẹ́tọ̀ ilẹ̀ Yorùbá.
Koiki Media àwọn ní bàbá.
Ọmọ Òdùwà ni wá o tọkàntọkàn.
Koiki Media àwọn ní bàbá.
Ikú tí ó ṣe bí lébi òsì àdìmú bàbá iyọ̀.
Koiki Media àwọn ní bàbá.
We bring you up closer to your doorstep.
Koiki Media àwọn ní bàbá.
Afẹ́fẹ́ tó ń fẹ́ o tó ń kan gígo lára ni.
Koiki Media àwọn ní bàbá.
Àpèrègèdè Olódùmarè ló fún wa ṣe.
Koiki Media àwọn ní bàbá.
Gbogbo ayé ẹ gbọ́ àwa ní bàbá o.
Koiki Media àwọn ní bàbá.
Ẹ máa bọ̀ wá ẹ gbé polówó ọjà yín wá o.
Koiki Media àwọn ní bàbá.
Òdúdúwà lágbédá ní òtítọ́ lágbédá ní.
Koiki Media àwọn ní bàbá.
A kì í sọ̀dálẹ̀ a kì í sódìkẹta.
Koiki Media àwọn ní bàbá.
Àdúró tán a tún pèrègèdè.
Koiki Media àwọn ní bàbá.
Koiki Media we bring you up closer to your doorstep.
Àwọn ní bàbá.
Koiki Media is around.
To give us latest.
Is around o.
Give us latest.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Ẹ mú kalẹ̀ sílẹ̀, ẹ tẹ́tí ẹ gbọ́ ètò tó kojú gbogbo.
ladies and gentlemen,
Ẹ mú kalẹ̀ sílẹ̀, ẹ tẹ́tí ẹ gbọ́ ètò tó kojú gbogbo.
Koiki Media is around.
To give us latest.
Koiki Media.
Koiki Media, we bring in the
gbogbo ẹ̀yin ọmọ ọ̀dọ́ tá a jọ ń káàkiri ọ̀dọ́jọ́ ni wá ẹ mọ̀ jẹ́ kí a fi àyè gba Fúlàní lórí ilẹ̀ àwọn bàbá wa ẹ mọ̀ jẹ́ ká bú ọba mọ́ ẹ mọ̀ jẹ́ ká bú jòyè mọ́ nígbà tá a la fẹ́ jà fún àwọn ọ̀rẹ́ wa táwa ń kọ́kọ́ ń bú ọba tá à ń bú jòyè èmi náà ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ rí bó mo pera mi padà ẹ mọ̀ jẹ́ ká bú àgbààgbà kankan mọ́ ẹ mọ̀ bolóṣèlú kankan àwọn ẹ̀rù kálukú ń bẹ̀rù wọn ò lè sọ̀rọ̀ ọba ò lè sọ ìjòyè lè sọ ẹ jẹ́ ká ronú ẹ mọ̀ jẹ́ ká bá àwọn bàbá wa jà mọ́ ẹ mọ̀ jẹ́ á bú wọn mọ́ ẹ mọ̀ jẹ́ á ṣe wọ́n ra wọn ara pẹ̀lú wọn àwọn àgbà tó bá jó lóṣèlú tá a bá fẹ́ kọ́ wọn rẹ̀ wá lọ́wọ́ á gbé wọn mọ́ra á gbé wọn mọ́ra ni à ní bú wọn mọ́ ẹ mọ̀ jẹ́ á ṣèjẹ̀gbọ́n ẹ mọ̀ jẹ́ á dàlúrú a lè gba ẹ̀tọ́ wa láì ṣèjẹ̀gbọ́n a lè gba ẹ̀tọ́ wa láì yìnbọn a lè gba ẹ̀tọ́ wa láì dàlúrú gbogbo protest mo ṣe ní ìlú Nàìjíríà mi ò rí ibi tí mo ti ẹnìkan lè sọ pé mo pààyàn tàbí mo jó nǹkan náà tàbí mo bà nǹkan jẹ́ mo lọ písù torí pé olówó lèmi náà tí ò bá sólówó lára ń dì mọ́ gbogbo nǹkan tọ́lọ́run fún yàn lọ́lọ́run fún mi mi ṣe tálákà tó dé pé mo dìde fúnjà Yorùbá big man ni mi àwọn tó jẹ́ ọ̀rẹ́ mi tó súnmọ́ mi tó ní owó ní kí ni mo wá lọ bẹ̀ pé sọ́wọ́ lè mi mò ń fẹ́ ni kí n sọ yìí tí mo fẹ́ mo ní ìṣòro owó àní ọ̀rọ̀ ìran mi ni mò ń sọ kí n wọ gbowó kí n gbéra kí n pé mò ń lọ ọ̀dọ̀ ọba gbowó mò ń lọ ọ̀dọ̀ oníbodè òfin gbowó kí n kójó wọlé kọ́kàn mi balẹ̀ kí n dá wa mọ́tò kí n mọ́ rìn bọ̀ kí Fúlàní mọ́ dá mi dúró títì kí n délé kí bàbá sọ pé kí n gbé tírélà sùn kí n mọ́ gbé lọ àwọn bàbá wo lè lóko mọ́ wọn ò lè lóńdò ẹ jẹ́ ká fọwọ́sowọ́pọ̀ ká ti àwọn bàbá wa lẹ́yìn ká dá security ti wá lẹ̀ ká sọ fún wọn kí wọ́n bá wa fọwọ́ tì í ká lé wọn kó nu oko wa ẹ ṣé mo dúpẹ́ Jésù Olúwa wa.
And a very good morning and welcome to the live broadcast coming from London. My name is Olayomi Koiki, Koikimedia as it is known. Quite a lot of developing story happening, and the most important thing is that we keep you up to date so that many of us are aware of what is happening around the world. I can confirm from the United States and also from the Iran media in the last couple of hours, there's been an attack, by the Israel with the Iran facility, a nuclear facility in Iran. This developing story is just breaking as we were all sleeping, depending on the time zone, wherever you are around the world. What I can tell you is that Israel missile has now struck Iran. This is coming from the United States of America. Quite a lot of developing story, and I'll be telling you what that means to many of us, especially the Yoruba people and the rest of the world as well. Also this morning, I'll be taking you through some of the other areas of our campaign as we continue our quest to self-determination. Yesterday, the news came out from Aso Rock that the leader of the Afenifere paid a courtesy visit to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I'll be telling you what that means to you and myself. But we want to stick to what is happening in Iran and Israel because there is a lot of developing story, and it is quite important that we understand that there might be, or should I say, we are currently in the World War III. Also, I'll be taking you to United Nations. Many of us that we have continued to tell you that a country has process, and those process, if you do not follow those process, you are not likely to achieve those country or the country that you want to. As the Yoruba Nation self-determination continue under the leadership of Professor ADEBANJI AKINTOYE, the leader of the Yoruba self-determination, as we've said, self-determination is a right, but it does not guarantee, even though countries might be in support of what you do, but you're likely to be vetoed out. So this morning, or depending on what time we'll be bringing that in, I can confirm that the United States of America, one of the most superpower and also a country that has veto in the United Nations under the Security Council, I can now say to many of us that United States, as at yesterday, veto Palestine request for a full United Nations membership. The United Kingdom was absent, likewise Switzerland. What does this mean? When many of us are campaigner of self-determination, how do we achieve a Yoruba country? And if those of us that continue to say that a country, either it is recognized or not, the question is, do you go through the due process and negotiate up to the final stage before you activate other areas that you might want to? All these I'll be talking about this morning. Once again, this presentation will be in English, but I will do as much as summary later on in the course of the program to our audience that are Yoruba. So let's start from the developing story from Iran and Israel. Yesterday, while many of us were not probably following development of stories around the world, I was sitting and monitoring what was going on in the United Nations. The Iran foreign minister is currently in America, and I've picked up part of the question and what he actually said at the United Nations. Many of us know who the United Nations is. I will not be telling you what United Nations is all about, but the purpose of the United Nations is not to create a country, but for you to find partners within the United Nations, most importantly, countries that have access to the veto within the Security Council. If many of us might not understand that, as United States have vetoed Palestine, does not literally mean that the other countries that have the same veto power have done so. But we will come back to that later. I want us to focus on the question is why has Israel decided to retaliate? What led to these frictions And can we now officially say that we are currently in the World War III? What does that mean to Africa? What does that mean to the global world itself? Israel informed America just in time before the attack that took place at the early hours of this morning. I've been monitoring all the news media around the world, and it is now confirmed that Israel confirmed through America that they were going to attack Iran facility, one of their nuclear facility. Let me take us straight to those developing story, because this is still breaking as I speak to us right now. What many of us might not understand is that Iran, a country that also have or still building their own nuclear power as well. Israel as well. I'll be telling you, for those of us that needs to know, Israel. Once again, today is the 19th of April 2024. It's exactly 5:28 a.m. in London, where this broadcasting is coming from. Israel, a Middle Eastern country on the Mediterranean Sea, is regarded by the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims as the biblical Holy Land. It is most scarce site in Jerusalem, within its old city. The Temple Mount complex includes the Dome of the Rock Shrine, the historical Western Wall, Al-Aqsa Mosque, and the Church of the Holy Spectral. Israel financial hub Tel Aviv is known for its behues, architect, and beaches. That is on Israel. Now let's look at Iran. Iran, also known as the Persia and officially the Islamic Republic of Iran, is a country located at the crossroad of West, Central, and South Asia. Capital is in Tehran, but capital has not yet been attacked. I can confirm that, but it's a site that has been attacked where Israel has fired a missile. Iran has a population of 88.55 million as of 2022, according to World Bank. They have their own official language known as Persian. They also have a supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. They have their president, and also their government is theocratic Islamic Republic, unitary state, parliamentary system, and presidential system. According to 2022 World Bank, their GDP is about 413 billion US dollars. Israel has a population of 9.5 million, almost less than what Iran have in terms of population. The current Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, they have the President, Isaac Herzog. Israel also have their own official language, which is what we have been saying to many Yoruba people, that we are not Nigerians, but we'll come back to that later. Their official language is Hebrew. Their capital city is Jerusalem. What I can confirm, that the news coming out as at this morning, and many news outlets, this is the BBC, is still a developing story as I speak to you right now. There's a lot happening, and it is important that we might just be picking a bit of signal from a funded Al Jazeera that has more resources, more than the Koiki media. As many of us, we have said that without a good resources, there's less of what we can do. So what I'm going to be doing in a minute is I'll be bringing us up to date with the other screen to our side, where we can monitor what is currently happening when it comes to the fight going on between Iran and Israel. My name is Koiki, one of the campaigner, and also a true believer that the Yoruba nationalists have nothing more than to get the hell out of Nigeria before things goes the other way around. But many do not believe that Yoruba people have the right, but I can tell you that our right will be respected, either they like it or not. I'll also be giving you up to date on what is happening between President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the Afenifere in the course of the program. Also, we're discussing why America has literally vetoed Palestine from becoming a full member of the United Nations. While we are bringing another screen in so that we can have a view of what is happening in Tehran, presently this morning, as this is a breaking news, and like I said many times on this platform, we are currently in the World War III. World War III is not going to be as the same as the World War I and World War II, so we might not see as things likely the way it has always been during the previous war. We are in the 21st century, and that means that things will not be played out the way it was done in the 19th centuries and the 18th, the 17th, when the World War I and II was currently going on. Once again, bear with us as we're trying to bring a screen into the conversation so that we can monitor those developments, and as images is coming out this morning. I'll be telling you what time it is in Tehran in just about a few minutes, but once again, if you're new to this platform, remember that it is all about self-determination, and that self-determination will be respected, as we always say. As many of us continue to monitor all these developing story, questions continue to be asked whether Iran would then eventually attack back, even though over the weekend we saw multiple advancement of the Iran drone flying into Israel, even though Israel actually told us that there were just about 99% of those drones were taken down, but I can confirm that yesterday it seems that figure was not accurate. About almost 88% was what Israel were able to capture out of those 300 drones and some 8 ballistic missiles. What does it mean, all these I'll be telling you. So below my screen, you'll be seeing the Al Jazeera, where we have connected because they have the resources to play with. So let me give us what has happened in the last couple of hours. All these is not up to 2 hours yet, but things seems to be going out of the other way around. The summary coming from the BBC, and Israel missiles are struck Iran. 2 US officials have told the BBC, the US partner CBS News. Iranian state media are citing unconfirmed report of explosion in the central province of Isfahan. Isfahan has a nuclear area where it seems that has been attacked. I can confirm that if you're traveling in that region, flights have been suspended over several cities, according to the state media. This is what I have said continuously, that if things goes the other way around, flights will be suspended in a country where there is a likely missile attack. So you are not likely to see your aircraft flying into a war zone or close to that proximity. Also, Iran has been on the high alert after Israel said it will respond to an Iranian attack against it on Saturday night. Many of us must have seen that if you're following the Koiki media platforms, where over 300 drones flew into Israel. The UK, the US scrambled around with their aircraft to take them down, but we can confirm that a couple of them dropped into the Israel as a facility. Over 300 drones and missiles were fired, by Iran to Israel during its unprecedented attack. But before you can understand all these, you got to first ask what led to these. What led to these was that Israel attacked Iran in Syria a couple of weeks back, literally about 3 weeks ago precisely. So there was an attack. Israel attacked the Iranian embassy, which is the reason why we are saying some of these situation as it's standing right now. So there's a huge tension in the Middle East that could escalate within days, weeks, which is already escalating. If we go back to this is some of the footage or the images where a lot of questions have been asked why Israel decided, to attack the Iranian embassy in Syria. Ever since Israel launched a strike against the Iranian embassy in Damascus, this was on the 1st of April. Again, most of you might not understand that this is not April Fool. We are now in a full military situation in the Middle East. Currently, Israel continues to attack Palestine. Over 40,000 innocent people have died. America has also vetoed that they will not be allowing Palestine, even though they want a two-state, but it will not be given a full United Nations membership. We're going to come back to that in a minute. But the most question everybody will be asking this morning is that why did Israel attack this embassy? Ever since Israel launched a strike against the Iranian embassy in Damascus on the April 1st, 2024, killing about 7 people, including 2 senior members of the Iran's Islamic Revolution Guard. The Iran Islamic Revolution Guard is the most used security for the Iran. This was founded on the 5th of May 1979. That was about almost 43 years ago. They are very powerful. They are strong. They are also have different network within the Middle East. And let us also say that as many of the countries around the world uses proxy in fighting their war, it is also important that you understand that war is not something you do not prepare for. If you're going to fight a war, you must have whatever it takes to fight that war. The Iran Revolution Guard, like I said earlier, is a very powerful revolution guard used in the Iran, and as you can see from the name, Revolutionary Guard Corps. Let me first give us, some of the views of, and remember that the world will say different things regarding them because the West does not align with Israel. But let's just look at the Counterterrorism Guard. According to the Foreign Terrorist Organization, Islamic Revolution Guard Corps overview, this was in 2022. The IRGC is the Iranian state armed force charged with defending Iran's revolutionary regime. These are the most advanced military armed force to defend, fight, and protect Iran against enemies in or within. You do not go into any war without a full preparation because you might likely be defeated. But what we can confirm is that it is separated from the Iran conventional military force. So Iran have 2 different military. One is known as the IRGC, which is Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, and they also have the conventional military force. The IRGC is composed of ground, naval, and the air forces, and also includes other components such as an internal security militia and the external operation force, the IRGC Quds Force. The IRGC QF is one of the Iranian regime's primary organization responsible for conducting covert leader activities outside of Iran, including asymmetric and terrorist operation. Iran views terrorism as a tool that it can use to support its effort. But again, remember that the West says exactly what they want you to hear. So I will not literally say that that is the opinion and the view of everyone around the world. Let's come back again to, this attack. Fears have now mounted that Tehran would order a revenge attack against Israel, and that took place over the weekend. So what we saw on Saturday was that Iran on Saturday past literally attacked Israel. For the very first time, this hasn't happened. We saw multiples of drones flew 5 hours into Israel, as much as the Iron Dome were able to stop them, but a couple of them were able to infiltrate into Israel. America, UK all have enough ample of time to move in, their warplane to support Israel, because America has always stated clearly that they would defend the territorial ground of Israel. The question is, as the Yoruba continue a peaceful and a non-violent conversation, should things change around, who do you call to make that full support against the binary country called Nigeria that many of us disagree that it is not meant to still stand on its own? This is why you need not to go into a war if you are not going to be fully prepared to make sure that you are not going in, because it is not going to be like buying moi moi and a car or buying whatever meal at the nearest McDonald's. You must be prepared that when you hit, you will also be hit, and that is exactly what is playing out in the Middle East as we speak right now. There's a huge tension. Iran, like I said, attack Israel. I want to bring that up in a minute. So what we are seeing right now is a very, very is a situation. Iran attack Israel Saturday. So Iran has multiple of drones, and these drones are developed within Iran. And for a country to launch 300 drones, you can tell that they might have millions of those drones ready to be deployed at any point of time. Iran launches unprecedented. This is about 4 days ago. Today is a Friday. So what took place was last week Saturday, which is literally a week now, within the next 24 hours. So Iran launches these unprecedented retaliatory strikes on Israel in a major escalation of widening conflict. Some of the drones were able to be captured, but most of them were taken down, like I said, through Israel Iron Dome. This video is courtesy of CNN. Let's hear what CNN actually said here in a minute. Once again, my name is Koiki. You're watching Koiki Media, bringing the world closer to your doorstep. Below camera that you're watching below you is the current live feed coming from Iran with the sister broadcast Al Jazeera that is partly funded, since Koiki Media is not funded enough to be able to have our team in Iran or have the multiple facilities to be able to provide you up-to-date information. That means we will be using some of these other mainstream media that have the money to run a media, because media is run with money, not with just mouth and commenting alone. So let's take you through to what is happening 4 days ago, then I can bring you up to speed what is happening presently right now.
That look like? Is it the Iron Dome? Could civilians ultimately be at risk if there is an attack inside of Israeli borders?
Sure, there could easily be a real threat to the civilians. The Israeli air and missile defense system is layered. We have Iron Dome, and it is supported by the Arrow ballistic missile, anti-ballistic missile system. They're very sophisticated. They're networked. And as you might imagine, the Israelis have deployed that system, all of them, in a layered manner, to defend the northern part of Israel and the principal population centers. It's also important for the Iranians to remember that, you know, the American people and the Israeli people are inextricably linked in many different ways, and there are thousands of Americans in Israel. And so an attack on Israel, in many respects, is an attack on the American people. And President Biden has a Second Amendment or an Article 2 responsibility under the Constitution to protect Americans. And that's why he said to Iran today, he gave them both advice and a warning. He said, don't attack Israel, because the likelihood would be great, not just that there would be loss of Israeli life, but loss of American life as well.
Given what
shout out to you, Kule Bakers, and thank you so much for the super chat. In any situation, you know, there will always be people that will side whatever sides you believe. So as we also continue our quest, which is our right to self-determination, when the full negotiation that is still going on between the Yoruba self-determination campaigners under the YSDM and under the leadership of Professor ADEBANJI AKINTOYE for a purpose of a non-violent discussion. Countries that will back you will not tell you until when things goes the other way around. But if anybody expects that a country is just something that you will take without preparing, then you will lose out and the whole thing will be forfeited. And this is why we are saying continuously to many Yoruba people that we don't need to be distracted. The good team of the YSDM and the world media and the campaigners are doing the needful. We are doing the needful, and there is nothing for you to be concerned or worried about, because nobody can stop or make the Yoruba nation to become a probably name calling or whatever. This campaign for the Yoruba nation, I've told you, most of you that have listened to me, that it is not a child's play. It is something that many people that want it must listen to those that are doing the operational ground of how it will eventually become a successful country of our dream. The negotiation doesn't last until you will make it last. Until that, you can then decide what next to be done. But if anybody is in a haste, if anybody is in a hurry to have a country, you have every right to do whatever you want to do, but please do not, and I repeat, do not link that to our great leaders, Professor ADEBANJI AKINTOYE and Dr. Chief Sunday Adeyemo Igboho, and the deputy of the YSDM Yoruba Self-Determination Campaign, Otumba Ademola. You can go out and do whatever you want to do, because if you refuse to listen, you will end up saying exactly some of what we have been saying, which I am not ready to go into, because that has got nothing to do with me. Mine is to make sure that I continue the campaign. We continue to then link these to some of the activities happening around the world. You can see that the Americans that are living in Israel are not just living in Israel, is because the American government guaranteed their lives inside Israel. The question is how many Yoruba people's lives are guaranteed around the world today by the current fraudulent country known as Nigeria. Would Nigeria come into your aid should there be any problem? We saw the Sudan. We saw how many Nigerians were abandoned, and I believe maybe 1 or 2, 3 lost their life because the Nigerian government could not move in and rescue Nigerians that are trapped. So let's come back, to the conversation with the CNN 4 days ago, while America continued to say to Iran not to, but eventually we saw that Iran did not listen. America also tried. I saw David Cameron, the foreign secretary of United Kingdom, Lord Cameron, because he's not a lord, flew to Israel again, trying to speak to Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, not to retaliate. But all that now seems not to have happened because it's gone into a deaf ears. So what we are now witnessing is the war that we have been telling you is just very close to our doorstep is now here. If you're one of those that continue to say that you don't want a war, well, it is too late because the war is already ongoing. There's a present and active war that has been going on for 2 years between Russia and Ukraine. The United Nations, the international community have not been able to stop it. The question then is, would they be able to stop the war that has now kickstarted between Israel and Iran? Remember that all these would also have a ripple effect into Africa as many of us continue to monitor this situation that is happening. So let's go back again and finish listening to that source. The US expect Iran to carry out strike inside Israel. And yes, Iran, for the very first time after a very long time, sent directly into Israel 300 drones. 84 or 88% of those drones were captured by the support of the US and the UK and the Iron Dome, but the rest dropped somewhere within Israel. Now, Israel has done the same thing. Would Iran respond back again? I'll be telling you all that. Sit back and let's continue with this analysis.
What you just laid out, that Article 2 responsibility and power, how likely is it that the United States could end up having to defend Israel if this becomes a wider, hotter conflict?
Well, that decision will have to be made by the president. And of course, he'll consult with his military leadership and make sure that the Congress is informed on the matter. We'll be
I want us to take point when we say to us that the Yoruba people that are doing whatever needs to be done to move out of Nigeria, if you're not prepared enough, you are likely to forfeit every effort that you have done in the last 3 years. And this is why we are grateful to have a very strong and a very vibrant team that understand what self-determination is all about. Many people don't understand what is it. They thought it is just something that, can happen overnight without certain reactions and certain things put in place. And we have told you continuously, but some of you, especially back in Nigeria, that are very, very unlearned, you do not understand that even America president would have to consult with his military general the way forward should things go the other way around to be able to protect and defend Iran. Because if America protect and support Iran, we are likely to see other countries might also support Iran. And again, that will become a very, very escalating situation. But many of you thought that, by just putting on a military uniform, putting on a military outfit, you can then do whatever you want to do. It doesn't work like that. Some of you think that the rhetoric of Jesus Christ and Muhammad is going to bring, the Yoruba nation. It will bring it in a very spiritual manner, but you must also prepare your mind for a lot of things. You do not get a country by just calling Jesus Christ. You do not call a country. Iran has not called Muhammad by just saying that Muhammad will fight on their behalf. They've literally sent 300 drones to kill, because the purpose of those drones were not toy. They were meant to destroy, maim, and hopefully kill. And I think even though Israel is not giving as much information, we know from other sources that 1 or 2 people died during that attack. Remember that even the Iron Dome that is used to protect the internal country with a 9.9 million population, even those drones would still drop back, remnants, and that could hit anyone and that could lead to death. Israel has not called Jesus Christ. They've gone back, according to the report coming out today, And what have they done? They've literally attacked again using whatever means that they have without calling Jesus Christ. As much as we, the Yoruba, believe in our faith, there's nothing wrong in that. But do not expect just by calling Jesus Christ that you've got a country. It does not work like that. It is all about planning. It is all about talking, engaging. And that is the reason why I'll be discussing later on in the course of this program what could be the discussion between President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the leader of the Afenifere. You can see that as much as Papa Fashion-Roti is a very elderly man, you can see why we sometimes ask why Tinubu needs to travel down to Minna and visit Babangida. Even though we know his leg is not going to stand up again, he could have made his way down into Aso Rock with the same way Papa Fashion-Roti has done. But that is a different conversation for another day. What is the conversation all about? Is it all about smiling? Is Tinubu going to do exactly what many Yoruba people want him to do by making sure that Nigeria is divided? Or what has he said? I'll be telling you what President Bola Tinubu said. I have the video clip. Do not go anywhere, but let us first focus on the current latest development that is currently happening as we speak right now. Many of you that think that IGBOHO and AKINTOYE are not doing the needful, you have now been able to confirm that as much as even Joe Biden, according to the report from this CNN discussion on whether Joe Biden will just go ahead as much as want to protect Iran and will attack. My question to those of you that want IGBOHO to just go out there and perform magic is, has IGBOHO done the finishing of the negotiation? No. IGBOHO is not a coward like many of you. IGBOHO is not an hypocrite. AKINTOYE is not a coward. AKINTOYE is not an hypocrite. Likewise, Otumba Demola and the rest of us that are followers of these great individuals. We understand what and how a Yoruba country should emerge. And if we do not consult, if we do not put in as much of many things in place, you would end up becoming a laughing stock, not just within Africa, but around the world. And this is why consultation will continue. Consultation with many countries, diplomacy, dialogue, but many of you expect that all these things needs to become projected on the screen so that you can know that AKINTOYE spoke to countries that will support us should we finally decide to do whatever needs to be done to exit Nigeria. Many of you need to understand that Yoruba nation is not a script. It is not something written. I understand that you've listened to all kind of rubbish, but because many of you refuse to understand that this particular platform, known as Koikimedia, explain in details what needs to be done at different stages. So let's go back and listen to why Joe Biden will not take decision. Remember that we're talking about, the most powerful country around the world, United States of America, but yet Joe Biden will have to consult a lot of his generals because Joe Biden is not going to be the one to go and fight right inside where the war is going to take place. It will be sending troops of people. It will be using logistics. We don't have those logistics. We don't have the money. And yet, many of you expect IGBOHO to be on the street doing what? This is the reason why we have said it continuously that when we are ready, we will know what next to be done. But for now, we will continue with the negotiation. We will continue with the peaceful means of getting what we believe is our own right. But that does not leave all options that is other off the table. But you do not go into those options when you don't have the means to do so. You will become a laughing stock. And I hope some of you understand this message clearly. I have sat back in the couple of days reflecting and saying that many of us will want to lose our mind is because your mind is already loose in the first place. Many of you don't understand the purpose and the aims and objective why we need to exit Nigeria. You thought that it was just all joke. Continue to say that we talk too much. America continue to talk, as you can tell from the analysis of the CNN, telling us that United States President Joe Biden would not just go and attack without consultation. Consultation means that they were talking. And even as much as Israel has attacked this morning, America will still be talking to Iran to please at least hold their sword. For now, whether Iran hold that sword or not is not for me to decide on behalf of the Iranian government. Let's go back again.
And of course, he'll consult with his military leadership and make sure that the Congress is informed on the matter. We'll be consulting, and we are right now. The CENTCOM commander, Central Command commander, is on the ground in Israel, consulting with the Minister of Defense and the Chief of...
The word consulting is what many of you don't understand. Many Yoruba people are not learned. We understand that. And those that we thought are learned are just as stupid as idiots. You think that Baba Akintoye is more or less like many of you. Baba Akintoye knows that you must continue consultation, regardless of whether they are your enemies or they are your friends or they are your partners, or whether you would have to lay your hands to ask for more support. Because what we have in our hands is a very big, massive project. We are not yet a country. I have told you officially, and I'll continue to state it clearly. Yoruba is not yet officially a country. We are still campaigning to do exactly what we are asked to do: consulting, negotiation, and you would not just negotiate with a country that is not yours. You will have to negotiate with those that are representing you within your country. That is what United Nations expect you to do. How do you expect us to be going to Ghana and be telling the Ghana president that we want to go when we are not speaking to the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu? And that is why I said that what is going to be the outcome now that Tinubu has stated clearly that the Yoruba people will remain in Nigeria, according to him, to the leaders of the Afenifere. Many of you were excited when Tinubu went to Akure during the campaign, using the Yoruba anthem to deceive many of you because he wanted your vote. You will remain in Nigeria according to Tinubu, but according to Professor ADEBANJI Akintoye, the leader of the Yoruba self-determination, does not want that. And that is why I asked you, who among these two love the Yoruba people much better? Is it President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that wants us to remain in Nigeria, even though he did reference to some of what Baba Oluwole did? But I will not be telling you that because we are still on the issue that is arising. It's a breaking news. If you're waking up this morning, Israel has literally now attacked a site in Iran. What is going to be the response? That is the conversation right now. This is Koiki Media. It's a breaking news, and it is still breaking. And below on the screen, you can see that that is a partly funded organization known as Al Jazeera, well funded up to millions of dollars, and they have what it takes to be able to report from Tehran and from their base in Qatar. I am based in UK, but we don't have all the resources to be able to operate, and that is why we're using, their own slide to monitor what is happening. And I'm also monitoring some of the other news outlets as well. So let's go back again and finish this particular analysis from the CNN. This was 4 days ago, and I'll bring you up to date. What are the developments as it stands right now? This is Koiki Media, bringing the world closer to your doorstep, and this is how we are giving you the latest update between Iran, Israel, Afenifere, Tinubu, and likewise, why did America veto Palestine from joining the United Nations?
Staff, the Israeli Defense Forces. So that conversation is ongoing. The forces that we're moving into the region are there to protect American troops, to protect American installations, but many of those forces have the capacity to augment Israeli air and missile defense capabilities as well, and we're positioning some of those in the Eastern Mediterranean to be able to do that. What's the likelihood of the attack? Only the Iranians know. But the fact that we've made it clear in the intelligence, from the intelligence that we have been talking about, the president in particular, should be a very clear message to the Iranians that we know what you're doing. We know you're preparing something, and you should know that we're ready to react if you do, to defend our ally in Israel and to defend our own people and our own.
So, who is going to defend the Yoruba people when the time comes? Who is going to be our ally? Iran launched an unprecedented large-scale drone and missile attack on Israel on Saturday night in the retaliation for a suspected Israel strike on an Iranian diplomatic complex in Damascus, Syria, bringing the long-running shadow war between the two sides into the open. It has always been proxy war between these two. You know, Iran used proxies, Israel used proxies as well. But for the very first time, Iran sent 300 drones and likewise a ballistic missile straight into Israel. And I can tell you from listening to George Galloway, we know that the range of some of those ballistic weapons within Iran can reach Israel because it's about 1,000 kilometers, and they have ranges of up to 2,500 kilometers of ballistic weapon that can hit Israel, in as much as Israel has the support of the other countries around the world. My question to many of us this morning is, what are we likely to witness as these things continue to fall apart? Nigerians now need to understand that the world is moving swiftly into a World War III, and if you're not preparing enough, you might be caught on guard. This is where Koiki Media is, to give you all the latest development that you need to know so that you are not caught off the map. Because when we tell you that there's war care less about world life. 40,000 people have died. The world has not come to an end. That is why we are saying the Yoruba people must be doing everything possibly best to make sure that the jihadist war that is currently within the reach of us is not something you joke with. The world will not come to your aid if you do not cry out right now. So we're going to move away from here and take us straight to some of the other. We've told you the reason, so that we know why Iran attacked and why it is coming the other way around. It is because what prompted Israel to launch its attack on the Iran embassy in Damascus? Are they not busy enough in Gaza without the prospect of opening another front in the conflict? Let me also say this, that for a very long time, America is ready to take down on Iran. So we know that Israel will be used as part of the game. We know that the America really wants to go after Iran, but it has to be done using a proxy. The question I've asked many of you, especially the Yorubas, is seeing what has been happening lately in Nigeria. Those Fulani jihadis are using the Fulanis, the main Fulanis around the world, are using Boko Haram and ISIS to fight their proxies, while myself and you continue to sleep and waking up thinking that we are safe by our politicians. They are using proxy to fight. The same thing is happening. Ukraine has proxies that is being used to fight. Likewise, we saw that Russia has multiple proxies as well. Who are the proxies that will protect and defend the Yoruba people? Many of you that have now refused to listen to us, you can now see the shame that you brought yourself in after we told you that we got to plan very well should you have to do anything to make sure that your people are free. You can see now that you have no support. I am not going into all the details because I'm not here, representing that particular organization. But I have told you continuously that you must have what it takes to fight. It has now shown clearly that there is a leader and there's someone that is trying to bring the movement down. The clear leadership knows what they are doing. If you want to make your way out using a forceful means, by now, you should not still be talking about Nigeria. We can now see that the forceful means failed because it is not part of what you expected. You expected that by now you'll be excited and you can talk about AKINTOYE anyhow and IGBOHO. But all that failed because you refuse to understand that there is a lot of planning and consultation that will go into it before any such would happen. I have stated my opinion. I don't have to continue to tell you to your ears. You know where my views stand. But that would not mean that as a learned journalist, an international brand would not want a consultation and negotiation if it can be done. But what many of you would not understand is that you have been told lies by a particular individual that they have spoken to countries around the world. You can now see that those countries have not come to your aid. You have literally failed. And it is time that many of you come back and realize so that we can work in partnership with the real people that understand what they are doing. Having a country is not a child's play. It involves a lot and a lot of input. But many of you refuse to understand because you thought you can just sit down on the social media and call Jesus and Muhammad. It doesn't work like that. So let's come back from here. And now let's come back to, Israel is about, depending on the time you're flying, depending on the country you're flying from, has a different time zone in terms of flying into it. But what many of us that have told you that Israel has not relied on their religion to protect themselves, they have enough what they call allied. They have friends around the world that will come to their rescue. And we can see that they have done so during the attack from Iran on Saturday. A country that is less than 10 million, but does not just rely on their Judaism. They believe in their language, yet they also believe that they need to protect themselves from their enemies within and outside. And this is why I have said that the proxies used by the Fulani to fight us in Nigeria are the Boko Haram, the ISIS, the jihadis, and they are doing that very well because myself and you are sleeping, hoping that Jesus and Muhammad will take the fight on our behalf. So let's close this and bring us back again to yesterday, before these early hours of this morning. There was another interview that I picked up where the Iranian Iranian foreign minister warns of decisive response to Israel military action. So it seems that things have not yet finalized. Iran respond if Israel takes any further military action. Israel have taken that action. What is Iran going to do? We have to wait and see. It's coming up to 15 minutes past 6 a.m. 19th of April 2024. My name is Koiki. Koiki Media, bringing the world closer to your doorstep. According to the foreign minister, and not just that, Iran respond if Israel takes any further military action against, it will be immediate and at a maximum level. I want you to take note of those words. Immediate and a maximum level. So that means that if confirmed, as Iran has been saying, that should the attack link to Israel, we are likely to see a maximum level of attack back by Iran into Israel. If you're a Nigerian, if you're living there, I cannot tell you to exit, but make sure that you prepare your mind that you are currently at war. If you're Nigerian, you're living in Iran, I expect you to understand now that we are at war. And for those of us that are not living in that region, but we are living close to the proximity, or those of us that we have countries that are in support or against, depending on which country you live in. If you're living in America, that means that America get involved in this war, you are also likely to prepare yourself. If you live in United Kingdom and the UK government get involved in this war, you are also likely to prevent and prepare your mind. This was what the foreign minister was saying. Amir Abdullahian told the CNN just yesterday, as fears rise of an escalation of the conflict in the Middle East. The word escalation means that things will go AY. Things will become very, very, much more than what it is presently.
Escalation.
The word
escalation.
It will rapidly increase. So, are we going to see a United Nation that is so disarray, a United Nation that cannot hold its house together, a United Nation where veto power is being used for those that have access to it? And you can see why the late legend Fela Anikulapo Kuti say, one veto power equal 32 other votes. America took advantage of that veto power yesterday, and we saw that America literally vetoed Palestine. Let me just allow you to listen to this. This was the United States representative at the United Nations. Currently, Malta is the one in charge of the president of the United Nations. Many Yoruba people might never have heard about Malta. I will give you where Malta is. Malta, as we know, is an archipelago in the central Mediterranean between Sicily and the North African coast. It is a nation known for historic sites related to a succession of rulers, including the Romans, Moors, Knights of the St. John, French and British. It has a numerous fortress, megalithic temples, and all these is what the Yoruba have as well. They've been around since 4000 BC. The whole population of this woman's president of United Nations that is currently, every country takes turn to become the UN president for a month. Malta, many Yoruba people, you might not have heard it about Malta before, but I can tell you that Malta is not up to 600,000 in terms of population. Yet, they are part of the European country. They determine my life and your life on our behalf. They sit and decide whether our election is fraudulent or not. While many of you might not understand that these are some of the reasons why we are saying that the Yoruba people needs to get the hell out of Nigeria so that we can become our own independent country. They do not speak English as the first official language, but yet they have English as part of their language. They have the Maltese, and they also have the Maltese Sign language. Then they have English. A country that does not speak the same language cannot be classified as a country. So how can a country that is less than 600,000 is represented as part of the United Nations, yet even Nigeria that is 200 million, I've never seen Nigeria becoming part of the president of the Security Council. And let me explain something. There's a difference between the body United Nations and there's a different body known as the Security Council. The Security Council is much more stronger when it comes to the body of United Nations. So when some of you, we were telling you that you don't have a country yet because that would have been coming up from the United Nations Security Council, you told us to shut up. You told us that we don't know what we're talking about, that Jesus Christ has given you a country. I can now tell you that you don't have a country. You have been deceived, and it is time now that you come back home. What I have told you for a very long time as a journalist is that if a country has emerged, automatically we would have seen that coming under the United Nations Security Council. Such never took place. So what is the Security Council president? What does he do, or what does she do? Right now, Malta, Vanessa Varizia, PR of Malta and the president of the Security Council for April. Next month, another person takes over. Let's first look at the name Vanessa and see if we can find anything about her. She's the current president in charge of the Security Council for 1 month. And it's a big opportunity if your country also has such opportunity. Many of you today doesn't even know that your country that you love so much is not respected within the United Nations. It is as useless as tissue paper, but many of you will not understand because you don't have enough. So who is this woman that we're going to be telling you a little bit more about? That is her. Let's first look at her age. Some of you always ask whether you will be able to become somebody in Nigeria. You will not. At the age of 54, your parents and your grandparents that died in Nigeria were never given the opportunity. She was born on the 24th of May 1969, age 54 years old. She is representing a country as Vanessa Flazia is a Maltese diplomat currently serving as the permanent representative to the United Nations. That is the right word to be using. They have different countries, but one day, we pray not too long, we will have a country that is called the Yoruba people representing us with our diplomat, representing our views and opinion. So when we tell you about Yoruba nation, this is how you need to start thinking. But don't tell me that you have a country because Jesus Christ already gave you the country. Jesus does not give a country. You walk towards that country with diplomacy, negotiation, until the last result, which we have now seen that it was a failure for those of you that have been following failure for a very long time. We told you, but you did not listen. So now, let's go again back to Malta, a country that is just under 531,113 in terms of the population. This should ginger you as a Yoruba person that why do you want to fix Nigeria when Malta is not up to the population and some of our local government? Again, official, the Republic of Malta is an island country in the southern Europe, located in the Mediterranean Sea. It consists of an archipelago between Italy, Tunisia, Libya. Many of you that are running away from Nigeria because you want to japa end up in Malta and you are locked away because they expect your country to be much better than theirs. But rather, your country failed you, so you end up running into Malta to become a citizen that will be kept in this prison. But if Nigeria was a great country, as many of you are projected and are still projecting, we should not be running into Tunisia, Libya to get to Europe, because if you can get to Libya, you are likely closer to Italy, but you will have to go through the Mediterranean Sea, and many of you died along the line. And many of you are still planning that route. I wish you safe journey. But one thing I need to understand, I'd like to understand, is that Malta continues to be a country. So let's look at their GDP. Let's first look at their GDP in terms of their wealth. Don't expect too much for a country that is less than 600,000. 18.13 billion US dollars was the GDP of Malta. So what does Malta export? What is giving them the money? So we must find out what is giving Malta the money. The total value of export, according to the FOB, is 3.67 million US dollars. The total value of import is 7 million. So that means they have to bring in many things into the country that probably does not have as much of what Yoruba people have. But yet, the Yoruba people prefer to live in Nigeria, where your life continues to be mortgaged for a very long time. So what is the main export of Malta? Malta imports machinery and transport equipment, chemical product, and the mineral fuels. The country's main export product are semiconductors, but also export other manufactured goods and refined petroleum. Refined petroleum. So you have a shithole country like Nigeria that is as big as elephant, but doesn't have the power and the engine of an elephant. We have been told that the refinery is working. We know that that is all lies. Yet, a country with a less than 600,000 population is refining petroleum on behalf of a shithole country like Nigeria, where many of you will end up being a slave if you find your way there. If Nigeria was truly working, we should even be buying Malta as a whole country and the whole territory because of the wealth that we have. But the reason why you don't have the wealth to buy Malta is because you are not an independent country. You are a multiple nation, lying to yourself, expecting the country to work. But today, it hasn't worked. Malta, like I said, let's look at the word semiconductor. The word semiconductor, as we know, is got to do with part of technology. So when we use the word semiconductor is what you're looking right now. This is what Malta is making out of me and you as part of their export. We have so many tech guru in the Yoruba and the other ethnic indigenous people, but your life has been locked, even though some of you will not believe. And let me just link that in quickly, because while I was watching one of the news networks in Nigeria yesterday, while they were reporting about AI, artificial intelligence. Well, your guess is as good as mine that something as usual that has erupted in that shithole country for the last 63 years would never come back without giving you headache. And I'll be telling you when you watch this particular clip. Once again, this was a live transmission between the studio and the Abuja where the event was taking place. But as usual, we know that the end result means that many of you that are expecting a miracle to happen in Nigeria, your life will not change. Rather, your life will become miserable, as much as you might disagree with us, but we know that you know the fact. Bear with me. I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to find that video so that it doesn't waste my time. Now, let's listen to, I've given you a background of Malta. So this is what they are producing, in case you are not aware. This is what is giving them money, semiconduct. What is the full meaning of semiconduct before we move away from here? Semiconduct, spelled S-E-M-I-C-O-N-D-U-C-T-O-R-S, commonly known as the microchips. Chips or integrated circuit, enabling modern life. Many of you want a modern life, you will not get it in Nigeria because you are analog. The country remains analog and it will remain so. Even if you pray to Jesus Christ, it will not make any changes. Those small devices make everything from computers, smartphones, your microphones, your microwaves, your cars to advanced weaponry work. That is what is giving Malta a population of less than 600,000 wealth. You will die in that country called Nigeria before you are 52 years old because you will not be able to have life. So now let's go back to why Malta is giving us updates from the United Nations yesterday, why United States decided to veto Palestine request for a full UN membership. Remember that UK, as usual, was absent, and also Switzerland.
Those in favor of the draft resolution contained in document S/2024/312, please raise their hand. Those against? Thank you. Abstentions?
The United States continues to strongly support a two-state solution. This vote does not reflect opposition to Palestinian statehood, but instead is an acknowledgement that it will only come from direct negotiations between the parties.
We believe that such recognition of Palestinian statehood should not come at the start of a new process, but it doesn't have to be at the very end of the process. We must start with fixing the immediate crisis in Gaza. Gaza is occupied Palestinian territory and must be part of a future Palestinian state. However, Hamas is still in control of parts of Gaza, and Israeli hostages remain in captivity. This shows that we're still at the start of the process. Ensuring Hamas is no longer in charge of Gaza and removing Hamas' capacity to launch attacks against Israel are essential and unavoidable steps on the road to lasting peace.
I will explain a little bit of this before we move away from it. So, for those of you that are expecting that, in as much as we know that, some of these countries might not want a total disintegration of Nigeria, and that is because for their own selfish gain. But this United Nations Security Council is a place that there are many countries that would want Palestine to become an independent country. But the moment that America uses its veto power, UK refused to become neutral. We know why. Switzerland, But my question to many of you that have told us that you have a country, well, we have told you arguably that you don't have a country because there was nowhere the discussion took place within the United Nations Security Council. But many of you refuse to listen because you are gullible. So you've seen that. So it shows that America veto Palestine request for a full United Nations membership as the UK abstained from the vote. Let's come back to the developing story because this program we're going to be winding it down in about a few minutes from now. Now, let's listen now to the Iranian foreign minister telling us that Iran would not just respond, will also immediately, at the maximum level, attack back Israel should Israel attack. And I can confirm that Israel have already done the attack. What is Iran going to do? I'll be telling you a little bit more about that. But for now, let's listen to this.
And do you think Israel could strike as soon as tonight?
We have given an answer on Saturday night to the action that during the past few months, particularly 2 weeks ago, the Israeli regime, through the attack carried out against the consular building in Damascus, Syria, our response to the Israeli regime was limited and stayed within a minimum of frameworks, whereas we could have given a much harsher response to the Israeli regime. Following that, we announced that this response is within the framework of legitimate defense according to international laws. We will not continue. However, in case the Israeli regime embarks on adventurism again and takes action against the interests of Iran, the next response from us will be immediate and at a maximum level. It will be decisive.
Now, you can see that these are two powerful countries that have enough weaponry and they also have allies. When some of you say, we should go out now, we should go and do this, who are those that will become our allies? Should we go out there? I'm talking about the Yoruba Nation campaign now. I am not talking about the campaign of going on the street, the campaign of doing the peaceful one. But if it goes the other way around, do you have those countries? Do you have those people that will be your friends? Do you have them ready to protect you against those Nigeria military that will come after you? This is why we are saying that planning is very, very much needed. You cannot just wake up and say you would go after when you know that it is not possible. And this is why we are saying to some of us that as much as we all want a country and we want it now, we should not allow our instinct of being deceived by someone that they've spoken to many countries around the world, yet we know that all that is a lie. No part of the world was spoken to. And you saw the reaction that there was nobody coming to your aid to help you. There was nobody coming. There was no satellite. There was no CCTV ready to pick so that they can send the United Nations down. The United Nations is not even aware of whatever activities that you might think, apart from the one that has been written to them, and they are still looking into it. So you got to be very careful for those of you out there, because the Yoruba under the leadership of Professor ADEBANJI AKINTOYE are doing everything possibly best through the means under the international law, and that has not yet been fully exhausted. But because many of you like to hear the word Jesus and Muhammad, and that gives you that the hope that the country has been activated because Jesus just accepted it somewhere in the heaven. Yes, spiritually, there's nothing called Nigeria, but physically, Nigeria is still operating until things fall apart. If you're one of those now hoping that you will get this support from the Afenifere, two fractions of the Afenifere have spoken. I've seen the two, and I've listened to one, but it will not be long before I listen to the other one, because we've heard about him before. He celebrated, I believe, his 95th birthday not too long ago. He's also a leader, but we know that Tinubu is not going to invite him to Aso Rock yet, because in everything the Yoruba does, and likewise around the world, you would always get people that would, the Yoruba Nation movement was infiltrated. Some of you did not believe it. Some of you thought that it was all cooked because you were not following the full details of who is truly asking for the Yoruba Nation. Some of you have called names. But before we move away from the Israel, because I have just less than half an hour for the next slide, which is just going to be on the Yoruba Nation struggle. What we have told you continuously is that under the leadership of Professor ADEBANJI AKINTOYE, the consultation continued. The planning continued, just like the US continued to plan Israel plans, Iran plans. It took Iran almost 2 weeks to retaliate back, because they need to put things in place. My question to many of you that are waking up this morning to my first broadcast after a couple of days, have you now understand who truly wants a country and who does not want? Sentiment is not put in asking for a Yoruba country. You do not put sentiment to it. But you must prepare and you must plan. If you fail to plan, you are likely to fail the mission. Your expectation has crumbled, but you can pick yourself up again and realize the truth under the leadership of Professor ADEBANJI AKINTOYE. United Nations is not coming to your aid, because United Nations has a lot of things to deal with. One of them now is to deal with the current escalation between Israel and Iran. Those are the two that they will be discussing. Other issues within, outside the world, will not be a priority. So if you're one of those waking up this morning and listening to me, it does not matter your sentiment, planning, consultation, negotiation is part of asking for Yoruba Nation. Let me first allow you to listen to the leader, because they have two leaders. Afenifere is divided. Their belief is that the Yoruba people have been marginalized in what is known as Nigeria, but they do not agree for the separation of Nigeria. They are in their 95. They've seen it all. Are they going to be the one to tell us whether we remain in Nigeria or not? But it is still part of the consultation. As they continue to say that they want to be in Nigeria, we, under the leadership of Professor ADEBANJI AKINTOYE, refuse to accept such. And that is why we are saying clearly that our Yoruba campaign must remain focused. The distraction has gone and is dusted. If you're still being distracted, you are probably not yet to understand what we are truly fighting for. You have every right to say whatever you want to say. But one thing is, America also consult before they can fight. You do not go out there and fight when you have not done enough consultation. Consultation means not just consultation, you must also prepare. Let's listen to Chief Ayo Adebanji.
You press people must help us to make things clear. Don't confuse genuine organization with people who want to make a name. The Yorubas have never been connected with separation in Nigeria. If anything, Shifauda led the Yorubas to keep Nigeria together. And personally, I was in Bonu in 1979, campaigning for the UPN for Nigerian unity. The question of separation never arose in our program. The question of separation people are mixing up, particularly with IGBOHO and Professor AKINTOYE, is when they refuse to reconstruct Nigeria. Our own position is not for separation. Our own position is that the constitution we are having now is not our constitution. That is the overall position which we are complaining. It is the ability to have brought it together. It is the ability that is imposing on all that we are complaining about in this constitution. It was not made by our founding fathers. They were made by the imposed military constitution. That is why we say it must be changed. Any amendment, anything is just palliative. It will not work. You cannot keep a nation of Nigeria with several nations, several languages, several cultures, several religions under a unity form of government. That is our stand. And that is the condition that we were brought together by colonialists in 1914. And we are carrying on. And we agreed at Lancaster House in 1954 to stay together under certain conditions which we agreed to. And we are carrying on until 1966 when the military came over. So don't confuse us with those who want to make a name. We are not interested in that at all. What we are saying is change the constitution now to a constitution agreed to by all the stakeholders in the country. The Yorubas, the Igbos, all the ethnic nationalities. We must agree to live together and how to live together. We cannot agree on the constitution imposed by a section of the country. You must make that distinction. Don't confuse us with those who want to make a name or shouting Yoruba nation for relevance. We are not there. What we are there is the constitution under which we are brought together must be in operation. And that constitution recognizes regional autonomy by all the sections of the country. All we are saying is, if the military is going back to the barracks, get it clear. Let them go back to the barracks with their constitution imposed on us and return us back to where they met us. If they are not going to do that, let us sit down and make a new constitution agreed to by all the stakeholders in the country. I think I'm clear. Why should we say if you come together and agree on the constitution, why should that be a problem if there is no private agenda? Don't confuse us and say, hey, if you don't agree to the unity form of government, you want to separate. And they talk about the question of Nigerian unity is not negotiable. That is utter nonsense. There's nothing more negotiable than the unity of Nigeria. We must agree to live together. You can't impose unity on a diverse nation like Nigeria. You must make that distinction.
Chief ADEBANJI.
Make the decision between intelligent opposition.
Well, you've listened clearly to one of the leaders of the Yoruba at home under Afenifere, the Pan Social Cultural Group. But while Baba ADEBANJI was in Lagos addressing the Yorubas and the non-Yorubas through that mainstream media at home, there was another activities that was going on somewhere in Abuja, where the president that did not agree with Baba ADEBANJI because Baba ADEBANJI supported Peter Obi during the last election. You can see that Fashoranti was flew, probably with the presidential aircraft, I don't know. But we found him, an elderly man in his 90s as well. I believe he's older than Baba ADEBANJI, but still active and well respected. You can see some of our kings all surrounded Baba ADEBANJI, Fashoranti in this image right in front of us with some of these old and the past governors. I think that's Oshoba and Benga Daniel from Ogun State. Those are the two I can recognize in these images. And it's great, yes, there's nothing wrong to have the feelings of a Yoruba man in the presidency, but a Yoruba man that is not representing the interest of the Yoruba to come out of Nigeria, but for the Yoruba to remain in Nigeria and see how we can survive in that contraction. I'm going to allow us to watch the response of President Tinubu to the Afenifere, and I believe whether it is the Afenifere of Baba ADEBANJI or the Afenifere of the Chief Fashoranti, Tinubu made it clear to them that I will keep Nigeria together because that is the vision and the mission of the manifesto of the APC. And do not expect me to change that because I'm a Yoruba man. So for those Yoruba people that are excited with that outcome, there's nothing wrong in that. So, you can believe. You can believe whatever you believe that Tinubu will make those changes happen. But I am not here to defend that. But I just want you to take every word that Tinubu is going to be coming out in the next video that I'm about to bring, courtesy of NTA, where Tinubu had this discussion. Then the photo shoot took place between the fashion of Afenifere or Fashoranti, and I believe Tinubu is also speaking to all the Yorubas that believe that is there for their own vision. Who thinks so? I don't think so. Tinubu is not there for our vision. He's actually there for his own vision. And that vision is to keep Nigeria together as much as possible, because that is his belief. It's not the first time that Tinubu told us that he believes in Nigeria. We know that he said so during his exile in the United Kingdom, where he lived after the late Sani Abacha wanted to assassinate him. Tinubu found his way into UK through whatever means, claim asylum, I don't know. But eventually, he granted an interview where he stated clearly that, Nigeria is not a country to believe in. But today, the music, as we always say, has changed to another ringtone. So Tinubu now believes that keeping Nigeria together is his own task and vision. And as a president, he will do that, even though many of us don't want it. I asked again, between President Tinubu and Professor ADEBANJI AKINTOYE, who truly love the Yoruba people. During closed-door meetings between the Afenifere and Tinubu, I might not have the privilege to know what has been said, but I'm going to judge Tinubu based on the outcome of what he has said. If he has a different plan behind that we are not aware of, I don't know. But for every sons and daughters of Yoruba this morning, I know that your expectation is that Tinubu will bring the glory of Nigeria back. Like Baba Akintoye said in that particular article that we read a couple of times on this platform, that Tinubu is only going to do maximum, and I'm trying to not even give him the 8 years, because we know that it will be a tough task for him to get that 8 years, especially now that the North do not want Tinubu back in power after 2027. But those Yoruba people believe that Tinubu can still, one way or the other, maneuver around that. How he's going to do that, I don't know, don't ask me. But we know that Tinubu is still the current president. And if you're one of those believing that Tinubu might not be able to change things around, or if you're one of those that believe that Tinubu is going to change things around and is going to give us that, that beautiful country of our dream known as Nigeria, there's nothing wrong to believe in that dream. But remember that your great-grandfather had that same dream and literally, and I use the word literally, shattered right under their eyes until those of our parents died. And you can see that is Tinubu, when we told him through Baba Akintoye that Nigeria needs now the courage to dissolve. But we know that he's not going to listen, because he has actually proved that he won't listen. But this is what he had to say. And let's listen to this.
What we face now is challenges of terrorism, security of lives and property, that is very, very necessary for development and good results. And we have been battling that. I can tell you this afternoon that we are achieving success. There's improvement. From hosting flags on the Nigerian properties and sovereignty, we have degraded terrorism to a level that they could not threaten the sovereignty of this country any longer. Well, it is always hard to defeat economic opportunity that might open up in this type of challenges, particularly when the country is equally challenged economically. So, the banditry, kidnapping that they've resorted into will also be defeated. I declined any ransom method, no payment of ransom whatsoever. We are taking the battle to them, and we are getting results more rapidly than ever before. The case of Kuriga and many other kidnapped children evident in the way we rescue them from Sokoto to Katsina to Kaduna and others now more expeditiously than ever before. We are working hard on intelligent gathering and execution of our programs. Those that might thought they can threaten the sovereignty of this country will have themselves to blame. They have a price to pay.
You've heard it clearly now. Those of you, including myself, that wants to disturb the sovereignty of Nigeria would have ourselves to blame. We know that the whole maximum term of Tinubu is about 4 to 8 years. The excitement of the Yoruba people is what I don't understand, because number one, Tinubu will not fix Nigeria back to the expectation of what you want. He talked about a few more things. I'm going to play that because we have just about 10 minutes or 14 minutes to the end of this broadcast this morning. He mentioned the education of the legend during the Western region, the late Jeremiah Oluwole. He talked about a few other things as well. But this area, this gray area that he's talking about in terms of the sovereignty of Nigeria can no longer be disturbed by anybody. Many of you will start to probably ask questions that what is the sovereignty of Nigeria and on what ground? We've listened to ADEBANJI saying that the constitution needs to be changed. They've been saying that for some time now, and they probably will say that even after Tinubu have left, and nothing is going to happen. We pray for more age for Baba. But at 95, don't expect them to say more than what they are saying. They got to be very careful at that age. But for those of us that are campaigners and asking for Yoruba nation, my question to you is, like I've said many times, your politicians want to keep the project of Lugard and Flora Shaw on behalf of the British Empire that was created for one purpose and a purpose that needs to be defeated. But how do we defeat it is the question. And that question is still going through a lot of discussion. Let's finish the last part of that broadcast from Tinubu from Aso Rock yesterday. And like I said, in 12 minutes, the program will come to an end. You've been watching a live transmission. And if you're waking up this morning, we are now in the World War III as Israel has fired back again into Iran. And we do expect Iran, as been said by their foreign minister, to respond back to Israel timely, with a lot of expectation now on the ground. Israel Foreign Minister Hussein Amir Abdullahian told the CNN yesterday, as fears rise of an escalation of the conflict in the Middle East, he says, and I quote, "Not my word, his word. In case the Israeli regime embarks on an adventurism again and takes action against the interest of Iran, the next response from us will be immediate and at the maximum level," Amir Abdullahian told CNN Erin Bonnet in an exclusive interview in New York yesterday. So we'll be monitoring that. Keep an eye on the Koikimedia blogs and all the other platforms where we'll be giving you up to date. But for now, let's take you back to the last 7 minutes of what Tinubu told the Afenifere under the leadership of Fashion Roti, while they believe that, or he believes that it will be in the interest of all the Yorubas to remain in Nigeria because that is the best option according to President Tinubu. Is that same option for you? Well, you would have to ask Tinubu why he believes that option is the interest of me and you. But under the leadership of Professor ADEBANJI AKINTOYE, we stated clearly that the Yoruba people must have nothing to do with Nigeria But Tinubu disagree with that.
And we are not going to relent in that area. We have the solid mirror that has attracted a lot of insecurity, scavenging, and others. Then we have special forces that is facing that now. We will have an effective forest guards that will be, fully in control of our forests in the country. But first of all, we must tackle the desperation of our youths, particularly the young ones, by following a cardinal program that brings relief to the parents of our future leaders. That's making the education as a tool and a strong weapon against poverty. To do that, we have to invest in the future of our youths. That is why the key point, I'm glad you are alive, Papa. One of historical thing you did in politics with Chief Obafemi Awolowo was invest seriously in education. And we've seen a problem that parents are facing in paying the tuition fee of their wards. Therefore, we've established student loan. Even though there might be free education in some areas and, but to nationally fund education while we are going on, means of transportation, accommodation, tuition, and all of that could be problems to people withdrawing from the higher institution. And we established the student loan, and we tell you it's taken off and taken off well. Seriously. To equally follow the path of social welfare, we are equally examining what to do with high degree of unemployment. When we cannot use any other method, we must help vulnerable families who have children unemployed. How do we do that? But enlist them from NYC up and pay some living allowances to them called unemployment compensation. We are equally looking at how we stimulate the market, the purchasing power of people, and as well at the same time fight corruption. Why, before we got here, you have a former accountant general, they discovered billions in his accountant. And tinkering with various payment schemes and others in voucher. Contractors being exploited, vouchers being altered. We have taken action, and you will soon hear the funding of consumer credit. If you eliminate the cash requirement to buy a car, to even buy a motorcycle, if you eliminate the demand for cash to even furnish a house, or to look for cash to get a house by itself, even if it's a shared house without furnishing. If you use consumer credit to control that, you will reduce the propensity for fraud and irregularities and corruption. So it's a dual carriage fight, and we are about to move on that scheme. And I promise you, our focus is that, and we will not let you down. God bless. God bless Nigeria. God bless our unity in diversity. The diversity must bring prosperity for the sake of Nigeria. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Well, you've listened to the message from President Tinubu to the Afenifere yesterday during the engagement. We'll be doing more analysis of that in due course. But as we wind down from here this morning, my name is Koiki. Remember that there is a tension going on right now in the Middle East. I'll be telling you more on that. Make sure you follow us. But for now, I say a very, very good morning. And as you're joining, you might have to remember that prayer is not going to resolve all the problems, because the problem around the world, we've not been able to use prayer to resolve it. It seems that there's so much evil out there, but we hope that one day those evil will be conquered. The Yoruba continue their campaign under the leadership of Professor ADEBANJI AKINTOYE, but we have seen clearly that the Afenifere have been told point blank by the current administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that at some point also told us that he does not believe in Nigeria. But now he believes in Nigeria because for the interest of what he's doing presently, he needs to believe in Nigeria. 2007, while he was on exile, Tinubu stated clearly that Nigeria was not what, not 2007, I believe, when he was far away during the exile. He stated it, I don't believe in one Nigeria, but all that has changed now. That is how far I can go this morning. Like I said, we keep you up to date of what is happening. Remember to follow, the latest news on our platforms, and likewise, the campaign for the struggle for the Yoruba people would also continue. As I say good morning to you around the world, I say happy Jimoh the Baraka to all our Muslim brothers and sisters, to all our Christians around the world. We send our greetings to you, and Aboru Aboye Fungubu Omo Yoruba. I'll be doing the Yoruba translation of everything I've said probably in another program. But for now, to the international audience, please remember that World War III is just right under our belt. It does not matter whatever you think Nigeria will break, but the breaking news first is Israel has struck Iran, according to the US official. We'll be monitoring all these, but I say thank you so much, and I'll leave it on that note this morning. My name is Oluwole Koiki, known as Koiki Media, bringing the world closer to our doorsteps. Nigeria has come to its due date, but it will collapse when we all decide to follow the one that knows the road. And the one that knows the road is the leader of the Yoruba self-determination, Professor ADEBANJI AKINTOYE, and likewise all those that are working very hard to make sure that we bring the Yoruba people out of what is known as Nigeria. But it seems Tinubu will be one of our biggest obstacles. For those of you that have always thought Tinubu is not the obstacle, Tinubu is the obstacle, and he has stated it clearly that he has no intention to creating that Nigeria, that Yoruba of your dream. So you will not get a Yoruba country if you are waiting for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But that will not mean that we will not continue with the negotiation with the federal government and likewise the international body. Thank you so much. Bye for now.
She